Welcome to the Service to Syndication Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world who have worn the uniform of this great country, those who provide services to our men and women in uniform, and other service-oriented professionals to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer your dreams and goals in real estate and to use this wealth creation vehicle so you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of generosity and prosperity. If what you desire is time, lifestyle, and financial freedom, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, the knowledge, experience, skills, so you can go out and crush it in whatever real estate asset class you desire. So grab a pencil and paper, sit back, and enjoy the ride on the Service to Syndication Podcast. Hello, my servicemen and women and other service providers. Welcome to another episode of the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Cedric Marlowe. I am a U.S. Navy vet. Here on the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, we've interviewed the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world, where most have donned the uniforms of this great country. We aim to provide the tool sets, mindsets, skill sets for you to achieve your personal and business goals while using real estate as a wealth creation vehicle to help you live a more successful, happy, and fun-filled life. I'm super excited today because I have with me Mr. Jeremy Beland, who is a top-notch real estate investor. But as always, before I properly introduce our exciting guest to you, I just want to ask a favor of you. Please, if you get some value out of today's interview, if you get some type of insight, mindset shift, if you learn a new skill, new information, or receive motivation, please go out and take some action to make some progress in your life. Please share this episode with some of your friends. Send it to someone who you know might be or could be interested in real estate. Share it on your social media. Post it on your wall. Share it in your stories. Help us spread our message while you help others. And for all of you who shared this episode, I want to say thank you. Again, everyone, I have Mr. Jeremy Beland. Jeremy's a successful real estate investor who acquired over 400 off-market properties across 6 states since 2017, building a thriving business with his wife from just $11,000 and a dream. They worked tirelessly for 3 years, growing their business while juggling a full-time job and blending a family of 5 kids, even downsizing to a tiny apartment to make ends meet. Today, they continue to grow their business with a team of rock stars focused on providing time freedom and wealth opportunities for their team members, along with helping others achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. Thanks to their hard work and dedication, Jeremy and his wife enjoy a life on their terms with abundant time freedom to live, travel, and work wherever and whenever they want. All right, again, welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you. Cedric, first of all, thank you for your service. I wanted to say, as you were saying that you're a Navy veteran, my oldest stepson, my wife's oldest son, is actually applying to the Naval Academy as we speak. He's working really hard to get in there. He's going to be close. So it's got a low acceptance rate, but he's really hoping, wants to be in the Naval Academy really, really bad. So we'll see. It'll be really fun.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me on your podcast, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks. And I really hope and pray that he gets in. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's low, they only accept like 8%, but if anybody's going to make that 8%, this kid is going to do it. He's incredibly driven and very intelligent. So knock on wood. Let's go.
That's it.
Thank you.
Speak it into existence. So, all right, Jeremy. So the first thing that I do with my guest is I ask them to walk us through their real estate journey in 75 seconds or less.
Oh my God, 75 seconds left. Less. All right. So back in 2016, after a very long story that I can't share in 75 seconds or less, which I'd like to share with you guys, but I decided that as I was approaching 40 years old, I needed to do something different with my life. I wanted to eventually invest into real estate investing. I wanted to be a long-term hold and buy and hold investor. Decided after a lot of you know going back and forth that wholesaling was going to be my entry into the real estate investing space, because if I could get really good at finding off market deals, then I would have the ability to take control of those properties and do whatever I want to do, whether it was a wholesale flip or keeping them as rentals. So after a year of not being able to pull the trigger because I was afraid and didn't have the money and I was stuck to the golden handcuffs, I decided to take a plunge. I was a divorced dad at that time with two kids. I sold my townhouse and I moved my family into a little apartment, and not such a great apartment complex, because the equity in my house was all that I had. Although I was making decent money, I was living paycheck to paycheck. So with that being said, I made about 18,000 bucks on the purchase of the sale of that house. I paid off some credit card. I took $11,000. I invested $5,000 of it into a coaching program that taught me how to wholesale my first house. And then I took that $6,000, and that was my marketing expense to start up my LLCs and my contracts and all that attorney stuff. And that $11,000 has gone on to help us today, 6 years going into 7 years later, since January 2017, over 400 acquisitions in multiple markets and over $8 million in gross profits.
Nice. Love it. So, like Jeremy, that last stanza that I read in your bio, enjoy a life on their terms and abundant time freedom to live, travel, and work wherever and whenever they want. My friend, believe me, that's what everyone wants. And it seems like you guys have figured it out.
Well, we're still in the process of figuring out. As you can see on my shirt, it says REI Freedom. That's that's our coaching program. And we're really passionate about that, because the cool thing about real estate investing, right, is that you can create a life that works best for you. Whether you want to be a high volume off market acquisition company like myself, or you just want to acquire like 2, 3, 4, 5 flips a year, work part-time, make some good money. You can work 70 hours a week and make a ton of money. You can work 7 hours a week and do pretty good with the money, and everything in between. So, real estate's really cool. You can be flippers, wholesalers, buy and hold investors, short-term investors, storage investors. I mean, it's endless possibilities, and you create a lifestyle where it works best for you. For us, my wife and I, we worked tirelessly, as you said in my bio, for the first few years as we were building this. We worked full-time jobs and ran this thing 24/7. So we burnt the candles at both ends, and eventually we built out this team. And then we've been able to basically use our team, leverage other people's money, like our investors, and build this company so it kind of runs without us. So now we have an abundance of time freedom. We still work every day because we're very passionate, love what we do, but we weave it in and out of our day, all day, every day. So, if we don't want to work today, we don't have to. We could go away for a month. We can. Some weeks we work 4 hours, some weeks we work 40. It's really up to us to decide. I don't have to set an alarm clock ever in my life. I get up early because I choose to, but I don't have to. I don't have to go sit in traffic. I don't have to do any of that. But it took a lot of hard work to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. It took a lot of risk. There's a lot of gut check moments, a lot of like, oh my God, is this going to work kind of moments. But as we say in my business, the ones who survive thrive. So we've just kept trying to persevere and push through. And I started my business at 40 years old. I was broke as can be. Just turned 47. My life has completely changed in 7 short years. And that is what's amazing about real estate investing, is that in a very short amount of time, your life can completely change.
Yeah, 100%. It sure can. Dedication, man, keeping your eye on the ball, and it will. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your military career. What branch were you in? What was your MOS or job classification?
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force. I signed up for the Air Force Reserves and eventually went over to Air Force National Guard. I'm from Boston. You can hear my National Guard accent here. So basically what happened was, when my previous marriage back in the late 2000s before the recession, I was working a really high level sales job, living suburbia life, white picket fence, had a really nice house and everything. I ended up switching jobs right before the recession happened, and the job that I switched to got crushed by the recession, which means internally I got crushed. We just put a big addition on our house. Life was great. And then, I found myself making really good into the six figures for, 2003 until like 2008. In 2009, I was out of work. I couldn't pay my mortgage. I had two young kids, and I was trying really hard to find a job at that time. I was 33 years old. Full transparency, I didn't graduate high school. I only have a GED, didn't go to college. So for those of us who were around during that time, not only was the housing market crazy, but the job market was crazy because there was no jobs anywhere. And people who were highly more educated and experienced than me were able to get those lower barrier entry positions because they had that experience in those college educations, and I didn't. And so I was like, do I go back to college? I can't. I got to provide for my kids. And it was at that time I started exploring about the military. So I decided to go into the Air Force and learn cybersecurity, because my thought process was I'd go in, learn about network security. I'd come out and I'd start selling it, because in my thought process, network security is forever. It's always updating. So I could become get some clients, and I could always just upsell them. That was my plan anyway. So I went into for cybersecurity, but I lost everything in 2009. And it wasn't for the fact that I actually knew about real estate investing at that time and actually was getting into it just before this all happened. Then obviously I had to back out because of life situations. But I got a real estate investor who's on my cash buyers list today, ironically enough, and he short sold our house. And he saved me from foreclosure and bankruptcy, and allowed us to get some money for selling our washer and dryer, refrigerator, our shed out back, just much needed cash that we needed for Christmas presents, clothes, food, because we really had nothing. I was out of work for a year at this point, and my wife had a job, but we were just barely holding on by a thin thread at that time. So, honestly, it took a lot of balls. I had to say, all right, I'm leaving my family for 6 months. I went into basic training in the Air Force. I went in basically 2 months before my age cutoff deadline at 34 years old. So I was in basic training, almost 34 years old, with a bunch of 17-year-old kids. All my training instructors, my MTIs, were 24, which were kids to me, telling me to get on my face and I'm a dirtbag trainee. But that experience was great because I was in a huge depression with my life before then, and allowed me to go away for 6 months between basic training and tech school to really focus on myself. And it was a wonderful life experience. I came out of that, started doing my 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. And it wasn't until my 6 years was up in the military in 2016 where I took the dive really into real estate. And my life has been forever changed since.
Okay. So you were in, how long again were you in altogether?
6 years, 2010 to 2016.
Okay. So did you ever consider making it a career? Why or why not?
Not at that point in my life. I always, this is going to sound kind of corny, but I loved Rambo as a kid. I was a big time into the military as a kid. But my stepfather at the time, he was an Army veteran, and he didn't have a great experience with this. So he always kind of talked me out of it. I think if I went in right after high school, which I kind of wish I did, I would have gotten a lot more out of it. But at that time, for me, at 33, 34 years old, 20 years in it wasn't really something I foresaw in my future. I was too entrepreneurial to do that. It was more of a means to an end, a way to get an education and really provide for my family. I went from making over $120,000 a year to making $36,000 a year in the military. But it turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me. But the cybersecurity world wasn't for me. I'm not a type of guy sitting in front of a computer worrying about proxies and firewalls and stuff like that. Paratrooping would be more my kind of thing, but I was a little too old, and with the kids, I just didn't want to take on that lifestyle at that time. So I love the military. As I told you, we have my stepson who's looking to get into the military. If I had it my way, all the kids would go into the military right after high school to get some college to help the military pay for the college education, grow up, mature, learn that experience of hard work, dedication, commitment, sacrifice. I love all what the military offers. But, I think I just got in a little too late, but I'm still very thankful for my time that I served.
Okay. So it kind of sounds like you kind of bridged that gap from being cut off from your six-figure income until the right thing kind of like came along? Is that pretty
Yeah,
much it?
yeah. So when I came out of tech school, I was still unemployed for a while, and I was just trying to find my way. And eventually, I found a sales job doing what I did prior to all the stuff that happened in the recession. And I was able to build myself back up to a six-figure income doing sales. And then I was just doing my 1 week in a month, my 2 weeks a year. But honestly, I didn't really enjoy it at that point. I was doing in the military, it was just very boring, and it just wasn't for me. So after a couple of years, I lost motivation. And then as I was getting older, I started seeing people like, not people in the military, but civilian life, like, working, decades for these jobs and businesses, and then just being let go as they were becoming too expensive and replaceable. And I was so burnt, so scarred by what happened to me during the recession. And then, when I was a kid, my family lost everything in foreclosure and bankruptcy too. We had all of our cars repoed. So this was like my second time through it. I said, I don't want to be at the mercy of anything, right? Of anybody else. Again, as a kid, I had no control. The recession during that time, I felt like I didn't have any control.
Yeah.
I didn't want my company to sell or decide they're going to just do something different or let me go, whatever the case is. I didn't want to be put in that situation anymore. So, I used the military to help me get the confidence back and build my life back up together to where I needed to do. And it certainly provided that for me. I got a lot of great friends, but after it was over, I decided to sell my condo, burn the boats, move into that little apartment, and took all that little cash I had. And I was all in, all the chips on the table. So it was do or die at that time. And then, thankfully it all worked out.
Okay. So I think you said 2017 is when your foray into real estate. And
Yes,
go ahead.
No, you're right. I said, yes, sir. So I took my coaching, started my business and coaching in late 2016, sold my house in December. In January, our first marketing plan went out. So officially started January 2017, got my first deal March of 2017. You're not going to be able to see it because of the lighting, but that's a $5,000 check. And that $5,000 check gave me proof of concept and belief that I could do this. And, that was a magnificent experience and moment in my life of achievement. Even though the money wasn't very much, the value that it brought outside of the monetary aspect was tremendous. So I was off and running.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it fair to say, because of what happened to you during the recession, and once you started, you got back on your feet with the next job, the sales job, was it the fact that they let you go back during the recession that you wanted to take control of your own lifestyle? Is that pretty much fair to say the reason you got into real estate?
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit of a control freak as a result of it, because things out of my control have, sometimes hurt me. And if I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to lose it all. I want to know it's because I, was at least working towards a dream or a goal, right? Not somebody else's dream or a goal that I, found myself replaceable. So yeah, that situation made me like, no matter what, I'm going to either make it or break it, but it's going to be on my own terms.
Nice.
And even today, man, I'm sorry to interrupt, but even today, even with all the success we have, I still work with a great sense of urgency. And I always wake up every day like it could be gone tomorrow. I don't take anything for granted. I wake up with motivation, love what I do, but also like, I know if I lose it all tomorrow, I can get it all back.
Yeah.
But I wake up every day like it could be gone tomorrow. I never, ever want to take it for granted, because I've already lost it all twice.
I like that though. I like that motivation that you have. That's that one thing that gets you up every day. You're like, hey,
Every day.
you're still hungry. You're still grinding. You're going to make this thing happen. And that's it. Because you took control of your life, that if it's all taken away, like you said, that you'd be able to get it back.
Yep. One of my coaches that I invested in over the last couple of years, my wife and I went out to do a 1-day intensive training in his office. And, we've already had success at this point. We're looking to get CEO coaching to become better leaders of our businesses. And he sat us down. He's like, you're never going to be broke again. And we're like, what do you mean? He's like, the skill set that right now, no matter whatever happens in your life, you can always go pull, money out of thin air. You know how to find a wholesale, a flip, a rental. You know how to do a certain skill that a lot of people don't. You'll never be broke again. And we were like, holy moly, he's right. And all of a sudden, like the sense of like relief and calm came over us in the process. It's like, again, I always feel like it could be gone tomorrow, but I know now that I can just go and redo it again tomorrow, all over again. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
I love it. I love it. And the one thing that I don't want my audience to miss that Jeremy said is that they got that check of $11K. He spent $6,000 of his $11K on coaching.
Yeah,
he invested in himself.
on the coaching, 5,000 on coaching, but the 6,000 was my marketing. I had to send out my letters and then my contracts and my attorney fees. So that $11,000, that was the only money I had, dude. That was it. And you know what made it even worse? I spent 2,000 of it to put out my first mailing campaign. I put the wrong phone number on it. So all of a sudden, now my marketing budget's down. I just lost a third of it, if not closer to a half of it. And I have the wrong phone number. And I can't find anybody who will give me that phone number because I was running a million miles an hour doing massive imperfect action mistakes. And oh my God, it's already over. It's already over. We're never going to make it. Then I had to spend, more money, send out the same 2,000 letters, this time with the right phone number on it. And out of that check, that lead came through. I closed that deal after a bunch of fumbling and mistakes to it, but I closed on it. So
nice. All right. And I'm glad you mentioned the check, the $5,000 check that you have. Let's talk about that first deal.
Yeah. So, it was this lady who it was an absentee owner list, and it was a single family she owned up here in New Hampshire. She was out of Maine, out of state owner. She was struggling. She actually grew up around Chernobyl in Russia, and she's been battling cancer her whole life. And this was an older lady, probably in her 70s at that time. And she was going through another bout of cancer and was looking at some, just some state-of-the-art medication that she needed to do. But it wasn't covered by insurance. So she needed to sell the house, and she needed that cash to get the treatment that she needed. But I didn't know what I was doing. I had a coach, but it was like a coaching program to tell you how to get your first house in 90 days, but it didn't really tell you all the coaching acquisition stuff that we coach today on. So I was just kind of fumbling my way through it, locked the property up too high a price, went and showed my cash buyers. Nobody wanted it, had to go back to it, get a reduction, had a second showing of the house. Like 4 people showed up after nobody showed up the last time. They're like, it's too high of a price. Now this lady's starting to feel bad for me. I'm like, I'm trying to give you the number you want. So we go for one more reduction. I found somebody who wanted the house. It was actually one of their first flips that they bought. And I got a $5,000 assignment. She got her money. She went out to Chicago like 2 days after closing, got her treatment, and which basically saved her life. We met a first-time investor who flipped their house and started their investment career on the buy side. And we got that $5,000 check. I put it right back into marketing, and then, another deal came, and then another deal came. And our first year, we only did 10 deals. Only 10 deals for $77,000. All of it went right back into the company. But that next year, we made over $200,000 that next year.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And even, majority of the people, if you guys don't know, I'm in multifamily. I do syndications and all that. With Jeremy, he's on the single family side, and he's, like you said, he does wholesaling, does fix and flips, buy and holds, the whole 9 yards, and now venturing into short-term rentals. But the thing that I want everybody to understand, whether it's wholesaling, whether you're buying someone's house, direct to seller, is that what Jeremy just did. He solved that lady's problem. Her problem was she wanted to get from underneath that house so that she could go get some life-saving treatment. Okay? Life-saving treatment. And he found a way to make it happen. So if you're out here and, and trust me, I've been on that wholesale side myself, everyone. So sometimes you might have this syndrome in your head, like, well, am I taking advantage of this person? You're not.
No.
Because if they're willing to sell, that means there's an underlying problem.
100%. Yeah, what we teach all the time is that we're tailoring a customized solution for their problem in exchange for equity in their home. I told you, I shared my story about how I lost everything in the Great Recession. A real estate investor came in and did a short sale rather than me going through foreclosure and bankruptcy. He gave me money for things that I needed at the time by just, for my shed. And I never once thought to myself, geez, I wonder how much money he's making in this house. Honestly, I didn't care. He could have made $200,000. All I know is he gave me a reset button, got me out of that problem situation. That reset button has maybe go up and to the right, like the real estate market for the last 10 years as well. I hope he made a ton of money. That guy saved my life. The value he brought was great. Now, myself, my wife, and my companies, we've been able to pay that forward hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over. It's an amazing feeling. We have so many Google reviews and testimonials of people who just say, we're so thankful for them, what they did to us, because we didn't even know this was an option, completely changed my life, completely saved me out of this situation. We've had so many people crying at the closing table, thankful that we've provided so much value for them. And that's why they sell their house at a discount, because they don't really care about the money. It's not about the money. They gladly exchange that money. They just need help and they don't know where to get it. And that's where we come in. We earn that money by providing them a lot of great value and helping them.
Nice. That's it. So for our audience, what markets are you currently investing in?
Yeah, man. So we're in New Hampshire, Massachusetts. We're in Rhode Island. We're in the Treasure Coast of Florida, which is like the Port St. Lucie area, just north of like Fort Lauderdale. And then we are Western New York as well, Buffalo, Rochester, out in that area. I've had some success in Wichita, Kansas, but we're not there anymore. I tried my luck in Las Vegas. I struck out after one deal. So Las Vegas is not my gambling town. We've tried a few different things. Some have failed, some have succeeded, some have excelled. But yeah, New Hampshire, Mass, up here in New England, Western New York, and Florida is where we focus all of our efforts on now. That and our coaching business.
Okay, got it. So the type of assets that you guys like to purchase are, what type of class, A class, B class, C class type assets, or even D, because there's some people that actually make money buying D class assets in D class areas. So what's kind of your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I mean, anything and everything. So, thankfully, because we're acquiring off-market properties all the time, we have this endless stream of leads that comes through our office. And we kind of just look at each property individually. Is this something we want to acquire in-house personally? Like our property that's a short-term rental in Florida, it's probably a class B, class A property. It's not super high end, but it's really, really nice. But, some of the properties we own, a lot of them are Section 8 housing as well. And, we own some stuff in between. So it really just varies on me. I don't really have a preference. The Section 8 properties tend to take a little bit more wear and tear in my experience. And, although the money was nice to have it during COVID, we ran into a lot of headaches with it as well. And obviously, the maintenance that you have to do on those properties is pretty extensive just to maintain Section 8 quality standards as well, which isn't a big deal, but they trash it as fast as you can keep up with it. But other than that, no, I mean, anything and everything in between. The largest property we own is a 5-family. We've owned a couple 5s, couple 4s, some 3s, some 2s, and some singles. We'll venture into some bigger ones yet, but we just haven't had the opportunity that came across us yet.
Okay. Let me see here. So primarily, how are you finding your deals?
Through our our marketing channels. We have inbound and outbound marketing channels that we use. They vary from market to market because some work better than other markets. So we are looking for distressed properties or distressed property owners. And, we look to start having conversations with them. Then we have a sales team that's really experienced in acquisition skills that go out and lock these properties up. And then we have multiple exit strategies for them. So, it's really just our outbound marketing. We're a marketing machine. We spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort on marketing and acquisitions. That's where we focus everything. I wouldn't call us wholesalers or anything like that. I say we're an off-market acquisition company. And then how we exit out of it determines what's best for us at the time.
Okay. So you said inbound, outbound.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you have people making calls, but
Yeah.
also you guys still doing the postcard thing?
Yeah, we still do letters or some mailings. They vary the types over the years, but yeah, we're
Okay.
doing mailings in some markets. We do cold calling in some markets. We do PPC and SEO in some markets.
Okay.
We're looking into some live streaming on TV marketing right now as we speak. We've tried radio. We've always tried everything. We track our KPIs diligently. And everybody's always asking me, what's the best marketing channel? I'm like, I don't know, dude. It changes like the weather. I used to make a fortune off of text messaging. Now, I probably can't even get anybody to return a text message these days. So, it's constantly evolving, but, we spend a lot of money on all those type of marketing methods on a monthly basis.
Okay. Um, Good stuff. Good stuff. So primarily, I know that you said, it's you, your wife, and I'm pretty sure you have team members, like
Yes, sir.
especially with the inbound, outbound. Um, how are you acquiring most of your assets? Just money out your pocket, some type of joint ventures between team members or something like that, or hard money, like whole, what is it, whole combination?
All of the above. Obviously, when my wife and I didn't have money for a long, long time. And, back in 2018, we went out, actually early 2019, I should say, we went out and saw Chris Noggle, who's the private money guy. And he taught us all about private money, man. And that completely changed our life. That's how we ended up out in Western New York. But at that time, we knew we needed some private capital. And we since then have learned how to use other people's money, give them greater returns on their money that's doing probably nothing in the stock market, nothing in the 401k, nothing in the self-directed IRA, nothing in the bank, you name it, they're not getting much return, and turning that into great returns. So all the stuff, almost everything that we acquire, I have little to no money into everything. I bird
Okay.
just about everything, and
Okay.
little to no money that I have in it. I use other people's money.
Yeah.
We basically take down not even the properties that we keep, but we physically close on properties every single month in both markets to put them on the market and resell them either fixed up as a flip or as is, or even as rentals that we burr. But we use people's money all the time. I always have $2 or $3 million on out in the street at any time. We use hard money to fill in some gas, but it's mostly just other people's private money. And people are like, who do you know that has that much money? Oh, I didn't think I knew anybody, but it turns out there's a lot of people out there. And once they realize you know how to get deals and they see that you're doing stuff, they all like, dude, how do I get involved? How do I get all involved? Well, I'll tell you what, you have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. You have a HELOC. Do you have some money that you can pull? And I can start to get you, 12, 14, 16% returns on your thing. And we can rinse and repeat all year long. I have investors now that all the time. It's like, I know we're closing in 2 weeks. Do you have another property lined up? Because I don't want the money back. Keep it moving. It's awesome. Our private money lenders, some of them, make well into the six figures in returns off of us lending us money every year because we use that much volume and that they make that much on interest. Dude, their lives have changed. It's like a full-time job for them just to stay at home and lend to us. Where else are they going to get that kind of returns? And then I never have to worry about cash flow or money tied up into this project or this project or this project or paying down points or any of that stuff. All of our investors actually pay 100% of closing costs, acquisition costs, rehab costs. I don't have to pay anything until I resell the property or refinance on the back end. So,
Sweet.
it's great. It's a win-win for everybody. It's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like you say, 100% purchase, 100% rehab, and you're not making payments all the while you're fixing it or flipping, flipping it or just rehabbing it. It's beautiful.
It's
You pay
awesome.
it on the back end once you burr it or flip it.
Yep. Yeah, I pay a little bit of a higher interest for it, but dude, it's worth it for me. To give them a few more points to take that risk for me, it's worth it because, as I said with the marketing, the marketing is going out every single month and that can
Mhm.
be really expensive. So, and I have a big team. So it's all about cash flow for me and that helps my cash flow, cash flow be good cash flow and not a problem in cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Hey, Thank you for tuning in to the Service to Syndication Podcast. If you are a military service man or woman, government employee, or any other service-related professional, this is for you. I once was where you are. As a service member, I lived paycheck to paycheck. As a government employee, I knew there was more out there for me. I tried all the get-rich-quick schemes. None of them worked. Then a friend of mine introduced me to real estate investing. I am a commercial multifamily syndicator who helps those who have served in the military and those who provide services to our men and women in uniform and other service-oriented professionals achieve their time, lifestyle, and financial freedom by investing passively into multifamily real estate. If you know that this life has more in store for you, I invite you to tune into the Service to Syndication Podcast to learn the tools, tricks, and concepts to help you achieve the time, lifestyle, and financial freedom that comes with investing in real estate. So go over to cobbscreekcapital.us. That is COBBSCREEKCAPITAL.US and schedule a call so that we can get to know one another and see how we can work together to help you achieve your goals.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, how are your properties managed?
Well, we have a property manager that manages all of our properties. Other than a short-term rental, which we are self-managing. Once we start scaling that to a few properties, we will then outsource that as well. We've been fortunate now to find a good property manager, but I can tell you, my first two experiences up here locally with my first two property managers were a complete disaster. And, especially during COVID and everything, just getting poor tenants that they bring in and then a month later stop paying. Just like, I literally lost tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars over a couple of years dealing with poor property management. It sucks, to be honest with you, but I learned so much value from that, what to look for, what not to look for now. But some people prefer to self-manage for lots of reasons. It's just not me. I'm looking for less time involved in things, even if that means I have to spend more money doing it. Time's more valuable than the dollar for me at this point in my life. So we have it all professionally managed. Runs pretty good these days, knock on wood, but I've got my bumps and bruises along the way.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure because, like almost, like you were saying, like some people like to self-manage, but they pretty much what they've done, they've went vertical with they vertically integrated where they just incorporated property management into their real estate buying machine.
Yeah.
And, brought on somebody to handle that while they kept leading the charge, so wasn't sure about that. Okay.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys who've started like self-managing, or maybe they struggled with, outsourcing the management, and then they went on to build their own property management companies that they do that for other people, but they obviously self-manage their own properties as well. That's a great aspect. That was just something that wasn't in our business model. We're focused on just the next deal, the next lead, and our efforts on that. So, I didn't want to have to deal with the headaches of trying to collect rent and all that other stuff.
Okay. So is it fair to say that locally to where you're at is where majority of your portfolio is currently being held?
No. I live in New Hampshire. I do have some properties here in New Hampshire. I have 3 properties in New York that I've never seen in my life that I own. I do have a property in Florida that I have seen. My wife and I, we manage that rehab from afar, but we manage that rehab and run that property from afar. I own a lot of properties that I've never seen. There's a property here in New Hampshire that I was just telling somebody the other day about that I acquired it last year via sub 2, took the property over, renovated the property with somebody else's money, bird it, paid the investor back, paid off the existing loan. And I had a property manager out there that ran all the rehab for me. I have no money into this property at all. And overnight, that thing brought me an extra $100,000 in equity and cash flows every month. And I've never seen the property at all. I've literally never gone there. And we have properties like that all the time. And, that's what's cool about real estate. You don't have to be the person who does the work. You don't have to be the person that self-manages. You can, if that's what you choose to. And a lot of people do. It's just not for me. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah. So how are you meeting your property managers that you have, all over the place where you have your current assets?
Yeah, I have somebody on my team that meets with them over the phone or through Zoom meetings on a regular basis, weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever that is, to just kind of get updates on certain things. We had a situation where we just went through our lead abatement issue in here in New Hampshire, where the kid kind of got high levels of lead poisoning, not really lead poisoning, but lead. So we had to relocate them and go through the state and do a whole bunch of stuff. But, again, we did that all through the help of a good property manager and, my business manager, Karen, who runs all that stuff for me on a day-to-day basis. So I don't have to, fortunately. I still get involved at times, but to give executive decisions or be in the know. But I let her kind of deal with all that stuff. A lot of these property managers I've never even spoken to.
I love that. I love it. Hands off investing.
I'm very hands off, because, I'm more into spending time with my wife, who I love very much, and we have a great life, and our kids, we got 2 into college, another 2 that's going to be in college in the next 2 years. Life is short, man. It goes by so fast. So as I mentioned, time is more important than anything for me. My time is very valuable for myself personally, but what I can achieve with my time is very valuable. So I want to make sure that I'm doing things that are revenue first, that are going to help my businesses grow, my team grow, or help make me real money.
Yes.
Making phone calls with my property manager and spending a couple hours a month on that, just that ROI on that time just isn't worth it for me. And it sounds wicked pretentious saying that, and I know that, and I'm sorry, but there's been an evolution there. In the beginning, I did everything myself, but as time has gone on, I've had the luxury to, again, pay other people to do that. I make less money as a result of it, but I'm okay with that because I have more time, and that's what's more important to me and my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. So how often are you physically at any of your assets?
Some of them I've never been to. Dude, I don't even do my closings anymore. We close, 5 to 8 to 10 properties every single month, and I do mail away closings. I don't go to anything. I'm in basement office here that I just got. It's my first office. It was one of the kids' bedrooms that I got down as a hand-me-down. I built $3 million businesses in many markets from my kitchen table, and we buy hundreds of houses a year that I've never seen. I've gone to a few of my properties, like, so some of our earlier birds, here locally, I was involved with, running those rehabs and stuff. But again, now I'm at a point where I have a project manager that can do all that stuff for me. So I don't really go anywhere or do any of that stuff anymore. I'm sure there'll be times that do, but they're few and far between.
Got it. So let's talk about one of your last property that you purchased. What value adds were applied to that acquisition?
Yeah, well, we're renovating a 5-family right here in New Hampshire now. We actually bought it on the market, which is something we never do, but my property manager brought it to us, and it's been a full gut. So that house has sat vacant for about 8 years, and 2 other investors have bought it at different times and started things and then just went away, and it's just been sitting there. So we are in the later stages of that renovation, and we have done all new siding. We've done all new electrical, all new plumbing. We've gone from 1 boiler heating system for the whole 5 units to 5 individual propane heating systems. We've restructured walls and the layouts of the entire building to really just squeeze out as much bedroom space as we can for value add. We've completely renovated. The rehab alone is going to probably be about $500,000 or about $400,000 on it. So pretty extensive, biggest project I've ever done. It's definitely a little scary. Again, I have a project manager that runs it. We talk with them about numbers and making sure we stay on track. But other than going there to do some content with my wife for our businesses, we really haven't been that much involved. We did a short-term rental, as I told you about, in Florida. My wife and I managed that rehab ourselves with a contractor that was local, and she designed the whole thing, and we manage it all ourselves. And that's been great, and that's been a fun experience. We're already looking to do a couple more, and we'll be hands-on on that because it's actually something we enjoy. We used to manage our flips ourselves in our early years, but it caused me a lot of stress, as you can see. I don't have much hair left these days. I got sick of going to Home Depot and all that stuff. So I had to hire somebody to take on that, obligation for me. But we enjoy the rehab process of the short-term rental. It's fun. It's just different. So we can enjoy designing it the house way we want within reason and decorating it and stuff. It's still a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Okay. So what's the REI Freedom's process of finding contractors?
Yeah, I mean, the REI Freedom process is basically, I have a project manager that puts everything out to bid through various marketing channels here, Facebook groups, and we like to get 3 bids on everything, but he kind of runs it as a project manager. Basically, what I do with my project manager on, the rehabs, he does a lot of business with us, so he's given us a very low overhead percentage increase on everything to manage the project for us. But like on our flips and wholesales and stuff like this, we pay him a percentage of the profit. So, hey, you run the rehab, we'll give you X if you close in the right amount of time and the right amount of and on budget. If you do one of the two, we'll give you a little bit less. If you do neither, we'll give you even less. So we incentivize him to get the project done fast and on budget. And then he's also the realtor, so he really gets to double end a lot of those deals. And that guy makes well into the 6 figures from that aspect alone from us. Never mind 6 figures as a realtor from us. So again, win-win situation for everybody, and it allows me to just focus on spending time with my family and growing my businesses.
Okay, so that 5 unit that you guys are currently in the process of rehabbing.
Yes.
Have you guys stayed on budget?
We're slightly over, but we've done a pretty good job. It's somewhat of a remote area for us. It's a small town that is in the process of revitalizing its town. So I feel like it's okay property now, but in 5 to 10 years, I'm going to be very thankful that I own it. We actually brought in a private investor on this one, and she's actually a minority owner, like a 20% minority owner, because she's one of our highest volume used private lenders, and she pays a lot of taxes as a result of it. So she wants to own some property. She doesn't want to have to deal with the headaches. So I said, all right, well, you lend on this whole thing, and we'll take care of everything on our end. And then, you'll be a 20% owner. You get your money back on the refinance. And for her, it's a win-win. For me, it's a win-win. I'll owe 80% of this property with no money into it out of my pocket. It is scary because it is such a big project, and it's so easy to go over budget, and we will. So I may have to bring a little money to the table, but we'll see. But it also depends where the thing refinances at and what the cap rate comes in. It could be if the cap rate's friendly for us, we could be in a situation where we actually get paid some money at the table, or when the closing table comes, we may owe a little money. We don't really quite know yet. The market's still a little unstable, so it's a little scary, but no risk, no reward. That's real estate, man. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I like to use a baseball analogy, right? You're going to strike out a lot at the plate. You're going to hit some bunts, some singles, some doubles, occasionally hit some triples and some home runs and grand slams. But if you're not up at the plate swinging, you're never going to get a chance to do anything.
Love it. 100%. So on this 5 unit, were there any surprises that popped up that you guys were not privy to?
Yeah. So this is an old house in New Hampshire. As we started tearing down the wall, the drywall to get into the exterior wall, the whole exterior wall of this 4,000 square foot house, a massive house, was all brick. They used brick for the exterior insulation of the entire house. We basically had to remove about, 2 or 3 30-yard dumpsters of bricks. And, bricks are heavy. So the weight alone was a lot of work. The labor alone was a lot of work. It put us back, it killed our budget a little bit, killed our timeline. I've never seen anything like it. Now it has, your typical blown in fiberglass or whatever it has. But brick, man, it's so weird. Never seen that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so let's kind of focus on your capital raising because you've mentioned several times many of your private investors that you guys have. Whoa, man, that's huge. So, um, how are you guys finding these private investors?
Yeah, so we've just brought on another new one on a small level. We're always looking to add more. You sometimes you think you have enough money, and then all of a sudden you have so many deals you don't have enough money. It also we do a little bit different than people like who do syndication like yourself as far as raising money goes, because a lot of our lending is very short term. Most of it's 3 to 6 months. We do some ones that are 9 to 12 months on some of the bigger bird projects, but typically 3 to 6 months. But they do a lot of transactions with us. But basically, it was people we knew. So we just early on was always posting about on social media. Here's another house we closed, another house we closed, and then people started saying, "Hey, what are you doing over there? You got something going on? How can I get involved?" And those conversations started to happen. And then once we went out to see Chris Noggle and learn the private money way, and he
Yeah.
taught us how to build this marketing plan, we started talking to prospects who are interested in being able to be a little more professional in our approach. And that really brought people in. But they all come in tentatively, right? They see your experience, but they don't, they need that trust. But one deal leads to two and three and four. Now I have people who says, I don't care what address it is. How much money do you need? When can I expect it back? What's my return on this one? And that's all they care about. And a lot of them sometimes have come through referrals, but a
Hmm.
lot of it because we're omnipresent. We're out there showing what we do. But our lenders will say, "Hey, I have a friend or somebody who wants to lend," or somebody says, "Hey, I have a private lender who's looking for somebody good. I think he'd be a good fit for you." So yeah, we've been fortunate that way, and most of our lenders have done many, 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 many transactions with us. I mean, north of 50 transactions. So we've been working with them for years at this point.
Okay. All right. So is it are most of your investors, are they what we call retail investors, or are they people who have invested in real estate before, and they kind of know the whole game with real estate investing?
Yeah, so it's like a combination of everybody. So we have some people that have just been successful entrepreneurs that have money set aside that were referred to us and say, "Hey, I know you're working with so and so that's lending with you. I have some money. Can I use it with you?" One of our main lenders, was left a lot of money by her successful entrepreneurial parents when they were unexpectedly taken from us at a young age. But she was able to take that money and invest it with us, not knowing a lot about real estate at all. And she's learned throughout the years with us and has become almost like a team member for us. And we've grown together in this business together. We've had somebody that's was very successful at automobile sales, and as he got older wanted to just move down to Florida and start just spending money. And he was brought to us by somebody else. He knew a little bit about real estate, put us like through the ringer. But again, now he calls me all the time just to chat because he wants to know what's going on in the real estate world. And we have another person who flipped homes for 12 years and they're tired. They don't want to do that anymore, but they've made a lot of money. So now they're investing that money with us, and we flip with those houses instead of them doing it these days. So a little bit of everything, but
Love
they're
it.
all just regular people, either
Right.
that have HELOCs, home equity, they have 401ks, self-directed IRA, or they inherited money, or they just have some money sitting in the bank. It's, some of them are very modest people. You wouldn't even think they have that kind of money. They're like the millionaire next door, not the person who's driving the big flashy Beamer and the big house or anything. But there's a lot of money out there, a lot of money out there, and people think it's untouchable and hard to get, and it's very scary and very intimidating. But I'm telling you, it's anything but. These people are looking for you to bring them an opportunity to use that money and get a return. And you shouldn't be scared of it. You're actually, just like we help a lot of distressed people out, we help lenders out by making them more money for their family and their goals. It's a win-win for everybody. Real estate's so freaking awesome. It really is.
All right. So what are you doing to nurture that relationship with your current investor base?
I communicate with them well, good and bad. I try to under promise, over deliver, right? I always will protect them at first and foremost, so they're always protected legally. And if I ever had to take a loss on anything, I would pay them first and, and eat that money myself. Fortunately for me, I've never had to do anything other than some extensions on stuff. And, and they understand that, hey, it's never going to be perfect every single time. That's the risk that they take. They just want to know that they have somebody when, S hits the fan, that they can trust and work with to get through it. One of my business partners and private lenders, he brought on our first acquisition guy out of New York for us, because this guy lent to this kid who was a young kid and his wife who flipped the first house, and it completely went to S. They were in over the head, didn't know what they were doing and everything else. And they had to turn this flip into a rental because the numbers were just way off. But what he did was communicate with my lender, my business partner, through the whole entire process, and made sure that over time he paid everything back, plus the interest. And he says, like, yeah, it didn't work out the way I want, but the guy was so transparent, and he got me my money back. He proved that even if everything hits the fan, he's going to do the right thing. And that is worth everything to him. And he's like, I'm so impressed by this guy, I want to hire him. So we hired him. Okay. And the guy went on to be a superstar for us. But yeah, I mean, it's great. So that's what we do with our private lenders.
Okay. And so how often would you say you do communicate with them?
Pretty regularly. No specific, frequency or anything like that, because we always have deals going on and off with them. I keep the relationships with that. That is something I haven't delegated out. My team members will talk to them about various things, but it's very relationship based. So I really want to make sure that, they're my customers as far as I'm concerned. I take very, very good care of them and their needs. So we talk every week or two, on the most part, every couple of weeks.
Like, not nice. I like that. Yeah. That's the one thing with your private investors, you have to communicate, and it shouldn't be a transactional relationship.
It's not,
yeah, definitely can't have that, because
No,
they'll weed that out right away.
Yeah. We become really close friends, and, and sometimes I need my lenders to help me out. Like, hey, I got this deal, I got to close in 24 hours, and they have to stop everything on their personal level to do that. Or sometimes, hey, I need you to lend this, you're only going to make a couple grand. I know it's kind of a pain in your neck, but I need you to do it. Like, my business model depends on them. So they're really important to me. And, but we make it a win-win for them as well. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. They have to be partners in what you do. So you have to have great communication with them.
Yeah. Okay. So let's now focus back a little bit more on the military. Do you still keep in touch with any of your comrades?
Nothing outside of just social media stuff, but yeah, not too much. I was very different. A lot of them were much younger than me. A lot of them are very supportive of my success and stuff like that. My name was Gramps in basic training, just to give you an idea where I stood with these guys. Not Dad or Pop, but Gramps. But no, we're still friendly, and I still support them and stuff like that. But nothing that I see it like on a regular basis. My social network is relatively small personally these days.
Okay. Is there any way that you give back to the military community?
Other than doing some donations every now and then, no. I would like to. It's actually something. You bring that up, and it's like, man, why haven't I ever thought of that? That would be something I'd be interested in doing. So if somebody from that I know said, hey, we're working in the military, we'd like to do something, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
I love the military. It saved my life.
Yeah. All right. So, Jeremy, before you became this very successful person I see in front of me, give our listeners a little bit of your backstory, like where you grew up, how was your upbringing, what in your past shifted your mindset. We kind of went over that a little bit into becoming the person who you are today.
Yeah. So listen, I'm from a very humble background. I didn't know my real father until I was well into my 30s. My mom was basically homeless when she had me. It was just me and her for, the first 6 years of my life until she found a guy who married. And then, I had some step brothers and sisters, and we kind of grew up very modest, lower middle class until we lost everything when I was about 13, 14 years old. We're now out in the streets. All of our cars were repoed and everything happened so quickly. And at that time I was a troubled kid, although I have no hair today. I had very long hair back then. That was very cool in the 80s, by the way, just so people know, before it was like it is today with my kids. But yeah, and I got into a lot of trouble. I was getting arrested. I was doing drugs, dropped out of high school, did all that stuff, man. I was, a very troubled child. And it wasn't until I was about 18 years old that a friend of mine got me into going to the gym, and that started to build some good habits of me wanting to better myself and be healthy. That decision made me quit smoking and start pulling away from different things, and which led me to get like my first real job. And even at 21 years old, I had no credit. I was driving a $400 beater car, living in a crappy apartment. I had nothing, like literally nothing. Then, met my first wife, and, we started to build a life together, and things were going pretty good. I went from zero to, in my case, my way I felt was a hero, because I was, I grew up very poor. Like, there was a time I was in 7th grade, I had one pair of jeans for almost half the school year. I had to wear them every single day. I know what it's like to go without food, and know what it's like to go without clothing, and know what it's like to go without stuff. I went through all that as a child. And I was struggling as an adult. I was a high-rise window cleaner at 19, 20 years old, hanging off buildings in Boston, getting covered in black suit every day. I've done a lot of terrible, terrible, awful jobs. But I got a sales job, and I turned out to be really good at it, made good money until the recession happened. And then I lost everything. And that's when I decided to go into the Air Force, came back out, got divorced at that point, and so I've gone through divorce. I've gone through losing everything as an adult. I've gone through losing everything as a child. I've been arrested. I didn't graduate high school. My wife and I, when we started to grow our business, we blended 5 kids, which I don't know if you guys are listening, know what blending is like, especially when the kids are older, like teenage. It's very, very challenging. We worked, weeks, weekends, nights, 7 days a week for years. While working full-time jobs and blending in kids of 5. And then it all just started to build momentum, and our life started to change and shift and stuff. But it was a journey. I came from nothing. I literally had no money most of my life. So that's my story.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man, only the strong survive,
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm thankful for everything. It's kept me, hopefully humble and grounded and hungry. I know good people struggle, and, not all of us have been blessed with great opportunity or great finances. Some of us have to battle a lot of different things in this world to get, some of us don't even have a fair shake at things, right? Whether it's based on race or religion, or, whether you're a male, female, whatever the case is. But I just personally feel like, it doesn't matter. If you want it bad enough, you can find a way to make it happen. We all have reasons why we shouldn't succeed, but there's always one reason why you should, and that's because you want to.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So, Jeremy, what is one belief you had as a beginning investor that has turned out to be false, but maybe holding people back from taking that leap into investing?
I think a lot of people feel like they need their own money. It's going to cost them a fortune to get into real estate, and that isn't the case at all. $11,000 seems like a lot of money, but I'm sure you can pull that together with a few credit cards if you really wanted to. I'm sure you could borrow that money from somebody if you wanted to. I'm sure if you look at how much money you spent in partying, going out to eat over the last year or two, you'd probably be surprised how much you could save. Maybe you spent an extra $11,000 on an automobile because it was nicer, but you could have saved it to use and invest in money, invest in a business. There's opportunity out there to start your own business. One thing I'm very passionate about, and I know it probably worked well for your success, is a lot of people try to wing it on their own. I personally believe hiring a mentor or a coach It's hard to justify that money, but when you start to see the ROI after you do it, and the success you can have as a result of it, and the time that the times of success greatly shortens, it's a tremendous opportunity. People like, just go to YouTube, just try to read books, and that's great. There's so much you don't know, because there's so many things that people like myself and yourself have experienced that we can teach other people not to make those same mistakes. I personally feel like, hey, listen, if you can find a way to just muster up some money, scrounge up some money, hire a mentor doing whatever niche you want to do, get your foot in the door, do exactly what they tell you to do. Just do it. Don't make excuses. Just do it. And it's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. And you're going to feel like it's not going to work, but then it does. And then your whole life changes.
Nice. All right. So knowing what you know now, what
Yes,
piece
sir.
of advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your real estate journey to make yourself have faster, easier, and smoother success?
Well, the one thing I wish I did is I started sooner in life. I wish I wasn't afraid to pull the trigger for a year. So I know what it's like to be afraid to take that jump in. But really, for me, was something I have had to learn in the last few years. Is the first few years I had coaching, I didn't want to bother my coaches a lot and ask them for a lot of guidance and advice. I felt like, all right, I paid for their material. I'm not going to bother them. I'm just going to try to figure it out on my own. I wish I asked for more help early on. I wish I leaned into them early on, because I really struggled those first few years, while other people who were in the same coaching program excelled, because I think they leaned on and weren't afraid to ask for help. I don't know if it was too much pride on my aspect, or I just didn't feel like I wanted to bother them. But the last few years, I've taken a mental shift on that, and I'm not afraid to ask, and I rely on my coaches a lot, which has actually helped me tremendously have even more growth the last few years, more than ever. So, that's something I wish I did earlier on that I know now.
Okay. Kind of piggybacking off the last two questions I just asked, what strategies would you recommend to a beginner that has led to some of your success?
Yeah, again, it would be find a coach, but you got to find out what niche you want, right? So, you don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. In real estate is super awesome, because you can be into mobile homes, self-storage, apartment buildings, flips, short-term rentals. There's so many things out there, but you really need to figure out one niche and get really good at that before you start going into another one. If you want to get into syndication and own apartment buildings like Mr. Cedric here, I wouldn't recommend getting into wholesaling first, because that's going to delay it. You can actually hire the right coach. They'll teach you the skills, how to go find those deals, how to invest that time and money into finding deals and those relationships to fund it. That's what I would recommend. But if you want to do flipping, then you should learn how to get into flipping. If you want to do wholesaling because you want to be like me, you just want to have that transactional business, but have options on the back end. But I'm not a great flipper. I'm not a great buy and hold investor. I'm just really great at acquisitions. But it took me a long time being really good at acquisitions before I decided to flip or decided to buy a property. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay. Is there any person, whether real estate related or not, that has led to your success?
Yeah, my wife, Shelly. Listen, she just at the right time brought me a green juice because she loves me. She is my everything in this, my world, my life. She's my second wife, but she's my business partner, and her and I really built this business. And there's been times where she's actively involved and then behind the scenes. These days, I guess we retired her very early on, fortunately, but she works with me behind the scenes as the visionary and working with things. And every decision we make, I run by her. And like we were just talking, because I do a lot of presentations. We just did this new one, and she came to it, and she just brought me a lot of feedback from it. And the value that she brings me is a reason why we have a lot of success. So I always feel like, because it can be very lonely at the top, having somebody I can share the good, the bad, the struggles, and everything else. But also, she brings out the best in me, man. She makes me the best person I can be. I tell her all the time, I'm so lucky to have you. I'm as healthy as I can be. I'm as motivated. I am the person I wanted to be, but I don't know if I would have ever achieved it if I didn't have her by my side, pushing me and encouraging me along the way. I'm incredibly grateful for her. So she's definitely first and foremost that person for me.
Awesome. 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 I love that, man. Just being true to the person who held you down and not only held you down, but also has pushed you forward. I love it.
She
So,
has.
yeah. Well, Jeremy, it has been a blast having you as our guest
Yeah,
today.
man.
And as we close out, tell our listeners where they can learn more about you, get in touch with you, and learn about all the fabulous things you have going on right now.
Yeah, brother. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you asking. Listen, REI Freedom. That's the way to get me on Facebook, REI Freedom Group. Join our group. We give a lot of free training there and free coaching there regularly. We're actively involved in there. Happy to talk to anybody outside of that group personally, but that's the best way to connect me. You can also get to reifreedom.com as well. Our coaching program is based off market acquisition coaching, but I do a lot of guidance and stuff outside of that. I want to help people. We're based on helping people. So go to Facebook, REI Freedom. You'll see us in there, and we'll chat, and hopefully we can help other people find their freedom through real estate investing, just like we have, my friend.
Okay. Awesome. So again, Jeremy, I want to say thank you for your time today and all the wisdom you have provided to my listeners. It's greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you, our fans, for tuning in to another Service to Syndication podcast, where we want to provide value to you and in your investing business. Please tune in to our next episode, where we will have another fantastic investing professional. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Service to Syndication podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate your support, and we are grateful about being a part of your journey to becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will get a lot out of what you just heard. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be in all areas of life. And if this was really valuable, share it on your social media stories and timelines. Thank you for watching and listening. Now go be great.